Hey Craftaholics, I'm Megan Ryan and welcome back to Making the Cut. So guys, it is a new year and we are back ready to go. I got some new craft ideas for us and I thought we would start a little while with some winter crafts. So I've got a friend who's been dealing with some seasonal depression and I wanted to make something for her that was going to cheer her up. So I decided to make this cute little entryway snowman. So let me show you how I painted it and then we're going to add a couple more details here in a minute. Here we go. So instead of bothering with the palette right now, I just put the paint directly on the piece of wood. And I'm just getting a nice even coat and making sure that it's gonna dry very easily. I'm not a perfectionist, so we're just gonna roll with that. I like seeing the wood through it. Now I'm doing the little hat, and I did this with the white still wet, so you can see the strips of white in there and give some definition to the hat, the red band around it, and then adding a little bit for the brim. And I'm just roughly sketching it out at the moment. I like just sketching it in the paint because I kind of have the lines to go by when I start adding the details. It's already got an underlying thing there. So now I'm adding the eyes, and these are like coal shapes, so they're very irregular, almost squared, and I'm just adding them right to the face. I'm sorry that y'all are getting more of my hand than the details, but it's all there. So now I am adding some cheeks and a nose. I'm just using a little bit of pink and a dry brush, just making some rosy little cheeks. Not trying to make them perfect, but just making them somewhat symmetrical. And then I can start the nose. And the nose is a carrot, so I'm trying to make it long like a carrot. It goes right over that pink rosy cheek. And a little bit of yellow to add some definition to it. I definitely do much more cartoony styled items than realism. I'm terrible at making anything realistic, but I really liked the way his little face is showing up. So now I'm getting some white, and I've just got a dry hard bristle brush that I am blotting out, and I'm going to add some like highlights to the blacks here. You can't see it because I cut it off, but I'm adding a little bit of snow to the hat, and then now adding the highlights to the eyes and the mouth. This is nothing special. It's just little dots of white all over. Because I'm dealing with a flat image, I'm having to kind of think in a three-dimensional mindset. So I was kind of thinking about, okay, where would the snow have fallen on this hat? So I focused on the top and then the brim. And then again, adding a little bit more to the eyes and comb. So now I've got some decomesh in green, and I'm just going to add this to the snowman as a scarf. So it's going to come right underneath it. And then I'm just tying a little knot just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to trim up these edges, make them nice and smooth. And I'm just kind of wrapping it around itself so that it looks more scarf-like instead of a ribbon. So just hanging those down. Right, so now I decided to do some sprigs of pine needles on the top. So we've got some evergreen. So I just start with some brown, doing the branches. And then I'm going to use a fan fan brush. If you have a fan brush, this is probably the best tool for making any kind of nature scene. It's amazing for pine needles. So real quickly you can see how I put together these pine needles. I'll zoom in here in a minute. I didn't realize that it was cut off when I was filming this, so sorry about that. But I'm just adding a little bit of brown to the green so that I can get some highlights and some lowlights and just making it look more three-dimensional. And then I'm going to go back over with a little bit more brown for the branches to let them shine back through. And when you're painting, you're just kind of thinking in layers. So yeah, it's kind of repetitive sometimes, but having the multiple layers are what's going to give it a more realistic look. So I'm just going back with that bright green to add the highlights. I'm going to come back and do snow after this dries, but I really liked how this turned out to start out. So now I'm going to use more brown. I'm going to make a darker brown so that I can get a nice base. I'm going to do some pine cones here at the bottom just to make it a little bit more cohesive. So I'm just doing 3 pine cones. I'm using this darker brown in the circular shapes. And then I'm going back in with this brighter brown to add the little nuts, so to say, the pine nuts part of the pine cones. And then a little bit of white to give it even more definition. So I really liked how this turned out, but I definitely needed to let that dry so that I can do the snow better. I noticed as I was doing this, it smeared it a little bit too much. So I just did what I could for highlights and then decided to hold off for a moment. So now we're all dry. You can see the definition on the pine cone. We're just going to add some white. And again, thinking three-dimensional, where would the snow fall? I'm putting it right on the top of the nose, the tip of the nose, anything that where the snow would actually catch. And then going back with my fan brush, just adding a little bit of white to the pine branches there just to give it a snowy look. And you can see now that it's showing more zoomed in how easy it is to use that fan brush. And then I'm just putting a little bit of white on the little nuts of the pine cones. Thinking three-dimensionally, you're going to put it more on the top and the side of this one laying down. And there we have it. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed that. I'm so glad to be back into the swing of things now that the holidays are over. And just shoot me some other ideas that you'd like for me to do. I love doing all things crafts. So if you've got something in mind that you are curious what I might come up with, leave it in the comments. And always remember to like, subscribe, all that stuff. Guys, thank you so much for the subscription so far. We've grown way faster than I ever expected. And I just thank you all. God bless and keep on making.